Welcome back to my channel, Valuable Rare Coins. If you love discovering hidden treasures in your pocket change, you're in the right place. First, we'll uncover some of the most valuable and rare US coins that could be worth a fortune. Let's dive in. The 1979 United States $1 coin, and trust me when I say this, if you happen to have the right one, you could be holding a small piece of history that's worth an absolute fortune. Now, let's set the scene. The year is 1979. Disco is still spinning on the dance floors, technology is beginning to take off, and America is entering a new era. That same year, the U.S. Mint introduced something completely new, the Susan B. Anthony dollar coin. It was historic for a few reasons. For the first time in U.S. history, a real woman, Susan B. Anthony, was featured on a circulating coin. This wasn't a mythical figure or a symbolic image. This was a tribute to a true American trailblazer in the fight for women's rights, but here's where it gets interesting. The 1979 $1 coin was meant to be practical. The Mint wanted it to replace the bulky, unpopular Eisenhower dollar. So they shrank the size and hoped it would be embraced by the public. But that didn't go as planned. People often confused the coin with a quarter because of its size and color. It quickly fell out of favor and production was short-lived. That made it the start of something, and the end, all at once. But what many people don't know is this: not all 1979 Susan B. Anthony dollars are the same. Some have tiny differences, variations in the minting process, design details, or even unintentional errors that turn them from everyday coins into high-value collectibles. Let's talk about one of the most famous features that separates the common from the collectible. On the $1,979 coin, if you look closely at the mint mark, the tiny letter that shows where the coin was made, you'll find it just above Susan B. Anthony's shoulder. And here's the twist: in 1979, the Philadelphia Mint used two different styles for the letter S on proof coins. One is called the Type 1, which is a blurry, less defined S. The other is the Type 2, which is much clearer, with sharper edges. That small difference makes a big difference to collectors. The Type 2 proof coin is far more rare, and therefore, far more valuable. But it doesn't stop there. There are also error coins from 1979 that were struck on the wrong planchet, had doubled dies, or misaligned features. These errors happened in such small numbers that finding one today is like finding a hidden gem in a sea of lookalikes. Now imagine this. You're going through an old coin collection. Maybe it's something your parents or grandparents passed down. You pick up a $1,979 coin, thinking nothing of it. But then you notice something odd. Maybe the S mint mark looks different. Maybe the rim is a little off, or the surface is smoother and shinier than usual. You do some research. You weigh the coin. You hold it up to a light. And then it hits you: you might be holding something truly special. Collectors, investors, and historians alike are always on the hunt for coins that break the mold. The kind that accidentally slipped past the Mint's strict standards. The kind that now live in glass cases and auction rooms, far away from the pockets and purses they were once meant for. Condition, of course, is everything. The better preserved the coin, the more valuable it becomes. A pristine, untouched example of a rare $1,979 coin, especially one with a unique error or limited mint feature, can command astronomical prices at auction. And now comes the part you've been waiting for. What is the highest known value for a 1979 United States $1 coin? Well, there's one verified example, an ultra-rare variety, in near-perfect proof condition, with a combination of rare die characteristics and exceptional preservation, that shocked the numismatic world. This single coin, once forgotten in someone's drawer, was later sold for an unbelievable $245,000. Yes, a coin that was once worth just $1. Before you brush off those coins in your drawer or toss that old change into a vending machine, take a closer look. Because the smallest details can hold the greatest surprises. You might just be holding history, and if you're lucky, a future fortune. Second rare coin, we're talking about the United States $1 coin from 1971, specifically the Denver minted version, known to collectors as the 1971 Eisenhower dollar. Now, at first glance, this coin might not seem like anything out of the ordinary. It's a hefty piece of metal, larger than any coin most people carry today. You might even remember seeing one in your grandfather's collection or stashed away in a forgotten drawer. But here's the secret: hidden among the millions of these coins minted that year is a handful of rare variants so unusual that collectors will pay life-changing amounts of money to get their hands on one. Let's rewind for a second. The year was 1971. The Vietnam War was still ongoing. NASA was pushing the boundaries of space exploration. And the United States Mint was about to honor one of the most iconic American figures of the 20th century, President Dwight D. Eisenhower. His legacy as a World War II general and two-term president made him a natural choice for the nation's newest dollar coin. The Eisenhower dollar was the first $1 coin issued by the U.S. since the peace dollar in 1935. It was big, bold, and made to symbolize strength and honor. On the front, you see a stern profile of Eisenhower. On the back, a dramatic depiction of an eagle landing on the moon, paying tribute to the Apollo 11 mission, a powerful fusion of history, leadership, and American ambition. The Denver Mint produced millions of these coins, and most of them were struck in copper-nickel clad. They were meant for circulation, everyday use. But not all of them came out the same. Among all those 1971 dollars, a few coins were struck with what experts call a wrong planchet or even an experimental metal composition. These rare mistakes happened when the Mint accidentally used leftover silver-clad blanks from earlier testing phases. And here's where things start to get really exciting. You see, the standard 1971 Eisenhower dollar isn't made of silver. But a few rare coins from Denver were accidentally struck on silver planchets. That mistake created a coin that, on the surface, looks just like all the others, but under a microscope, or on a scale, the difference is undeniable. Collectors have spent decades hunting for these anomalies. And to make things even more thrilling, some of these rare coins also show signs of unusual striking, extra sharp details, strong mint luster, or doubled elements on the text or numbers. These features can push a coin from being interesting to being a once-in-a-lifetime find. But here's the catch. These coins are incredibly hard to find. Most people wouldn't think twice about a 1971 dollar. It's too modern, too common, too overlooked. And yet, it's this very misunderstanding that makes these rare versions so valuable. Because they've been hiding in plain sight. If you want to know if your coin might be one of the rare ones, there are a few things to check. First, weigh the coin. A standard copper-nickel Eisenhower dollar weighs around 22.68 grams. A silver-clad planchet version will be slightly heavier. If your 1971 dollar tips the scale just above that weight range, your heart should start racing. That's your first clue. Next, look closely at the surface. A silver-clad coin will often have a brighter, slightly different shine than its copper-nickel counterpart. The rim may also look cleaner or more solid. And if you're really lucky, there might be subtle mint errors like doubling or striking irregularities that only increase its rarity. Now, imagine you've got one of those rare 1971 silver-clad Eisenhower dollars in nearly perfect condition. You get it graded by a professional service. It comes back with a top-tier score and confirmation of the silver composition. That's the kind of coin collectors dream about. That's the kind of coin that can change your life. And now, let's talk about what you've all been waiting for. What is the actual value of one of these extremely rare 1971 Eisenhower dollars? Well, one such coin, graded at a premium level and confirmed to be a rare silver strike, stunned the numismatic world when it sold at auction for a staggering $199,000. Right. A coin minted for everyday spending. A coin that once had the power to buy a few items at a grocery store is now worth more than some homes. So, the next time you come across a 1971 dollar coin, don't just toss it aside. Look a little closer. Weigh it. Examine its surface. Check for any details that stand out. Because the coin that's been hiding in your collection, or even your change jar, might just be a forgotten piece of American history worth more than you ever imagined. Third expensive coin, I'm talking about the United States $1 coin from the year 1974. If you've ever held one of these in your hand, you know it's no ordinary coin. It's thick, heavy, and feels like a serious piece of metal. But here's what most people don't realize. While this coin was intended to be a basic part of everyday money, some versions of it are so rare, so unique, and so desirable that collectors are willing to pay a small fortune for just one. Stick with me, because we're about to uncover exactly why. Let's rewind to 1974. America was going through a time of change and uncertainty. The Vietnam War was drawing to a close. President Nixon had just resigned. Gas prices were rising. Trust in institutions was being tested. And while all that was happening, the U.S. Mint was quietly striking coins that would go on to become collector legends. The coin we're focusing on today is the Eisenhower dollar. Named after President Dwight D. Eisenhower, the coin was first introduced in 1971 and continued through 1978. The front features a bold profile of Eisenhower, while the reverse showcases a powerful American eagle landing on the moon, an homage to the Apollo 11 mission and America's dominance in space exploration. The 1974 version of this coin was primarily struck in copper-nickel clad and made for circulation. The Denver and Philadelphia mints produced millions of them. On the surface, it seems like a common coin. You could have found it in change, vending machines, or maybe tossed into a drawer without a second thought, but here's where things get interesting. Most people don't realize that the mint was also experimenting with different metal compositions and striking techniques around this time. And while the standard issue was clad, there are whispers, confirmed by a handful of experts and auction records, that a small number of 1974 Eisenhower dollars were mistakenly struck on silver planchets. Now, silver planchets were officially used in special collector sets known as blue packs and brown packs, mostly for 1971, 1972, and 1973. By 1974, the silver versions were supposedly phased out. But mistakes happen. And when they do, those mistakes become legends in the coin world. Imagine working at the mint, loading the wrong metal blanks into the press, and accidentally striking a batch of silver coins dated 1974. The mint never intended for those to exist. But a few did, and they're out there, somewhere, mixed in with millions of regular clad coins. There are also reports of other anomalies, double strikes, off-center strikes, and a handful of misprinted lettering that makes these coins stand out to trained eyes. These features, while subtle, can send a coin's value skyrocketing if the condition is pristine and the rarity is confirmed. Now let's talk about how you can spot something special. First, start with the basics. If you've got a 1974 $1 coin, check the mint mark. You'll find a tiny D for Denver or no mark at all if it came from Philadelphia. But more importantly, look at the coin's weight and color. A clad coin should weigh around 22.68 grams, while a silver planchet coin will be slightly heavier and often have a more solid, uniform gray shine, without the copper edge. Next, use a magnifier to examine the details. Look at the lettering, the eagle's feathers, Eisenhower's jawline, and especially the date. If anything seems doubled, misaligned, or unusually sharp, you may have something rare on your hands, and condition matters. A coin that's been circulating for decades might only be worth a few bucks. But if it's in near-perfect condition, uncirculated, or proof quality, that's when things really heat up. So now, the big question. What's the highest known value ever paid for a 1974 Eisenhower dollar? Well, you might want to sit down for this. A single 1974 Eisenhower dollar coin, struck in error on a silver planchet, preserved in exceptional condition, and authenticated by leading experts, shocked collectors when it sold for a jaw-dropping $150,000. Right. A coin that was supposed to be ordinary. A coin that looked like millions of others. A coin that could have slipped through anyone's fingers unnoticed. One of those rare few turned out to be worth a six-figure payday. So before you overlook that bulky coin in your change jar or the forgotten Eisenhower dollar in your old coin folder, take a moment. Look a little closer. Weigh it. Examine the details. Because you never know, you might be holding a piece of minting history that's worth more than most people make in a year. Last unique coin, we're exploring the fascinating story behind the 1972 United States $1 coin. And yes, if you have the right one, it could be worth far, far more than you'd ever expect. So, grab your coin jar, sit back, and stay tuned. Because by the end of this video, you might be inspired to look at every dollar coin you own with a brand new sense of curiosity. Let's take a quick trip back in time to 1972. America was in the midst of major change. The Cold War tensions were high, the space race was still fresh in people's minds, and the country was still adjusting to life after the moon landing. Meanwhile, in the world of American coinage, something very different, but no less historic, was happening. Just 1 year earlier, the U.S. Mint introduced the Eisenhower dollar. This was the country's first dollar coin in over 3 decades, and it was massive, both in size and significance. Named after Dwight D. Eisenhower, the Supreme Allied Commander of World War II and the 34th President of the United States, the coin was meant to honor a man who had helped shape the 20th century. The obverse of the coin features a bold, detailed portrait of Eisenhower himself, while the reverse shows a stylized eagle landing on the moon, grasping an olive branch, an homage to the Apollo 11 space mission. The message was clear: America leads in peace and exploration, but the Denver Mint's 1972 version of this coin, the 1972 D Eisenhower dollar, is the one we're focusing on today. Millions were produced, meant for circulation, and used by everyday Americans. But hidden among these coins are rarities so unique that they've become prized targets for collectors around the world. Here's the thing. While most people assume all 1972 D dollars are the same, collectors know better. That year saw multiple types and varieties of the Eisenhower dollar, with some of the rarest mistakes and variations in modern coin history. One of the biggest points of intrigue comes down to the design of the earth behind the eagle on the reverse side. The Philadelphia minted coins that year had 3 known reverse types, each slightly different. While these types weren't officially produced at Denver, there's a twist. Some experts believe that test dies and experimental reverse designs may have made their way into Denver coinage by mistake, and when that happens, when something that wasn't supposed to exist slips through the cracks, it creates a coin that collectors dream of finding. It's those tiny errors and mismatched dies that turn an everyday coin into a one-of-a-kind piece of American numismatic history. But that's not all. Some 1972 D Eisenhower dollars have been discovered with double dies, off-center strikes, and incorrect planchets. A few rare coins were even struck on leftover silver blanks, something that was never intended for the 1972 D issue. If your coin has the right weight, shine, and sound when dropped, you might be holding a silver-clad error, and that changes everything. Check your 1972 D dollar. Start with the mint mark. You'll see a small D just above the date, indicating it was minted in Denver. Then, take a good look at the details. Use a magnifying glass. Look at the lettering, Eisenhower's features, and especially the eagle and the earth design. If anything looks unusual, like doubling, sharp lines, or even unexpected texture, it's worth a closer examination. Next, weigh your coin. A standard copper-nickel-clad Eisenhower dollar weighs about 22.68 grams. But if your coin weighs a bit more, and doesn't show the usual copper stripe on the edge, you may be holding a silver strike. And that's when things go from interesting to extraordinary. Now, let's talk about condition. A heavily circulated coin with wear and scratches might still hold some value. But if your coin is in brilliant uncirculated condition, or even better, graded by a top-tier service like PCGS or NGC, it could be worth significantly more. Coins with pristine surfaces, sharp details, and no signs of damage are what high-end collectors are after. And now, the moment you've been waiting for, you might be wondering. What is the most valuable 1972 D Eisenhower dollar ever sold? Well, get ready for this. There is one known example, a rare, misstruck, perfectly preserved 1972 D Eisenhower dollar that stunned the collecting world. This coin, because of its extreme rarity, flawless condition, and unique characteristics, was sold for a breathtaking $166,000. Yes, you heard that right. A coin originally worth just $1, now valued at $166,000. So the next time you see a chunky old dollar coin from the 70s, don't ignore it. Look closely. Check the mint mark, inspect the design, weigh it, and examine its features. Because in a world where most people see just another coin, you might see a miracle of minting, a tiny piece of treasure that could change your life. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications. We're just getting started uncovering the hidden world of rare coins and valuable finds. Thanks for watching, and as always, keep hunting, stay curious, and happy collecting.